Yeah, if you can't tell, Golden Girls has been on at the house.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
Hi, and welcome back to the second half of this episode. We're going to continue discussing things that might offend some, and others I'm sure will jump right the fuck on board.
Oh, yeah.
But back to this photo that we were speaking of.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're transgendered, while you can have forced sex with somebody where you're the initiator, you could never rape somebody because that would put you in a position of power over the other person. And being transgendered, you cannot be in. You do not have.
There are a few people below you in the power spectrum.
It's very
according
hard
to this poster.
Right. It is very hard for you to become a rapist just because you are.
Because it involves power.
Right. And the person replied, like, how fucking dare you? Because, like, I am a rape survivor, and, like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And
which is a totally sensible response.
Right.
To
No,
this
I think that's most people's
ridiculousness.
responses.
Yeah.
And this person's like, I'm sorry you're a forced sex survivor. Like, they couldn't even say rape.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even say fucking
sorry
rape.
You had forced sex.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry you're a forced sex survivor, but transsexuals are below you in power, therefore you didn't get raped. I hope you feel better. Like, that,
yeah.
they like, ended it like, I hope you get to feeling better.
Yeah. As if it were a chest cold.
Right. Oh, God.
No, yeah.
It was disgusting to me.
Yeah, no, it was.
And I'm one of these people that does not get disgusted by many things, but that was just fucking... That was sickening to me. That person.
Well, it's a very ridiculous train of thought to have. And what's crazy is how many of these people exist inside this kind of neoliberal ideology.
Right.
I don't know why we're talking about this today. This feels way too early to be addressing these types of subjects.
Fuck it. We gotta narrow out the herd early.
I guess.
We got only the strong will survive. The weak should fear the strong.
Okay. What fucking so many quotes that could. But I know which one that is, but I can't remember.
Or if you're Bailey saying that, then I'd just like to be a dick and say that the strong should fear the weak. Because there's more weak than there are strong.
All right, whose side are you on here? Where are you going with this?
I'm in the middle, man.
Sounds like you're part of the proletariat.
No, it's like I got vampires on one side of me and zombies on the other, and I'm just in the middle killing until I'm done.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
That was a pretty badass analogy, simile. I don't know.
Whatever.
I think you said that makes it a simile.
It's a cool comparison.
Yeah, it was. I'm solid at the usage of English. I'm not solid at the identification
of what
makes up the English.
You know, Dad's an English major, right?
Is he really?
Yeah. Like, I guarantee you, he could be like, "Oh no, it's actually this." Like, without having to be like, "Oh, let me think about it." It would just be like, "Oh no, you just did this."
That is crazy. My mom's an English major too.
Is she?
Yeah.
Mom.
I always felt like most teachers were English majors, even though it doesn't really pan out like math teachers should be English majors.
I mean, when I was a kid, my mom was a teacher. I was like, teachers sleep at school. And I was like, my mom was a teacher. I was just not a bright child.
I feel like most people had the same opinion, though. I did, for sure. I thought teachers fucking stayed there until I was probably in, like, 2nd or 3rd grade, and there were teachers getting ready to go home and going home before me and my mom went home. And I was like, oh. And that was the switch.
Man, and
I never questioned that I thought it, either. I didn't reflect on it. I was just like, oh, no, teachers go to sleep.
So, like, one of my parents was a cop, and one mom was a teacher. Still is. Well, she's actually gotten away from teaching now. She's a librarian and media specialist. So she handles all the pretty much, like, if you have tech questions, she's like your first line person to go to at that school.
Nice.
And then, like, if it's something she can't handle, she'll contact the tech department.
Okay.
But she's like the liaison for the school, basically, on top of being a librarian. So and the school helped her get her master's too.
Nice.
So that was very good for her. I was so happy for her when she got that. And then,
speaking of liaisons,
yeah.
Have you seen? I can't remember. I think his name was like Stephen Miller.
Mm-mm.
The guy who was recently appointed to handle the public speaking for Trump. The guy who's head of communications. I have no idea.
Press secretary, maybe?
Maybe. I really don't know what his fucking title is, but his job is to handle the press stuff for the president.
Probably press secretary.
Yeah. Or that's what he did, and I believe that's his current job. I'm very fuzzy on the details. All I know is he was handling this press release addressing recent presidential moves politically. He fucking manhandled the press. Holy shit. Like, I got to watch some clips of it, and he was not taking any shit from the press. And one of the reporters was using the poem off the bottom of the Statue of Liberty as part of his argument. But he took a moral direction with one of the things he said, and he was talking about limiting immigrants because speaking English is going to be one of the markers to move you to a higher priority in our immigration list with this recent change. And he looked at him and he was like, I am offended and appalled that you would think something like this. And then, like, he didn't really get past that because the reporter kept trying to argue with him. And I'm not sure if maybe he just speaks the way Trump does, because he was doing a lot of the similar stuff. But basically, he made the point that there are just a large amount of countries that speak English, because the guy was like, it'll only be from the UK and Australia, and I think that you're trying to, like, I think he said colonialize, but basically like create a influx of white people was what he was going for. And he was like, no, and he did make the example whenever he said that other countries spoke English as a national language. There were countries in Africa whose national language was English.
Even like China and South Korea and Japan, a lot of them it's taught like we teach Spanish and French and shit like that here in the States, but a lot of times they take it a lot more seriously. And the
English
ones that
is
you
the
get that
number one, I think, might be number two, most studied language overseas.
Well, that's because we have like a really shitty language system. Like we have very similar spellings for words that mean very different things. We have
plus homonyms and homophones.
Oh god, it gets like once you start diving into the English language, it becomes a nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, it gets scary fast. Everything's hyper dependent on what's around it.
Right.
And that's goodness.
That is just a weird way to have a language.
Yeah,
I mean, it works. I'm not arguing.
Oh no, I love English. English, in my opinion, is one of the most expressive languages because a lot of it's based on inflection, but the way that you can use words like connotation and denotation heavily affect the way that like words are received by people. And so, saying you're pretty cool and like you're a nice guy, while I might mean the same thing when I'm saying them, like they feel like different compliments.
Right, but at the same time, you can say things like, you're pretty cool and you're pretty cold. And while cool and cold can mean a very similar thing, the two sentences have a very different meaning to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like, have you read that book that I've been reading?
No, because I don't know what book you've been reading.
But it's read and reading, and they're spelled the same. And so a non-English speaker might confuse that sentence with, have you read that book that I've been reading? Because the tense doesn't change. The tense doesn't change the word. Mm. Like, the past tense of read is read. And it's spelled exactly the same.
Right.
And that's another, like, issue. Plus, when you look at, like, I feel like saying Asian languages is wrong, like Eastern languages, I guess. They, like Chinese and Japanese, one of the big problems converting to English that I've been told from friends of mine who have, like, taken Japanese classes, they said one of the problems is that, and from my Korean teacher in high school, just more cred to why I'm saying this, I feel the need to defend myself, that they don't have the L and R consonant the way that we do. And so they kind of have to learn it. And
is that why everybody like makes fun of the Oriental area for
their horrors with bowers? Yeah, that's why people make fun of it, or like that lobster. And what it is like a soft L sounds similar to a soft R, and that's where they start to have a lot of trouble. And then, like, obviously there are plenty of Eastern Americans, I guess, that speak English just fine. You know,
right?
There are plenty of people from countries all over the world that speak English.
Man, I had
better than me. In fact,
I had a squad leader in the Army, and he was from. It wasn't Kenya, but it was somewhere over in that area. Like, he was from Africa. Sure. And he, if I'm thinking right, he used to be in the military in Africa. Uh-huh. And he, was an allied nation, so he got a citizenship to the U.S., all that good shit, joined the Army. But he had a very thick accent, and you had to spend some time around him and talk to him a good bit to, like, be able to pick up exactly what he's saying.
Oh yeah.
And you had to pay attention real good, otherwise you wouldn't even get the gist of what he was saying.
I had a coworker,
which was good because he was one of the few NCOs that you like paid 100% attention to, just because if you didn't, you were gonna miss a lot.
Yeah. I had a coworker like that. He was from the Congo, and he spoke French and English.
Huh.
Yeah, because he said that the language in the Congo was French. I don't know if it's necessarily true, but he spoke French. But his accent was really interesting. It's similar to like the English accent, but it's also the way that they enunciate parts of the word and the way that they emphasize certain parts of the word. Their English has a really interesting cadence, and it tricks your brain into thinking like certain like, goodness gracious, syllables are paired with other syllables, making different words than the words that are actually
that was formed. One of his things, is he had a very distinct cadence about him.
Yeah,
with
the way that they speak, and it's awesome.
It's super interesting, and it's like once you get past like, if you're one of these people like that's irritating, if you can move past that and like think about it, it's a very interesting, very cool thing.
Yeah, it's honestly really enjoyable. I picked up because I wound up throwing water with him for about a month and a half. And I picked up just anytime he and I were hanging out, I just used his accent because I used to have a lot of fun with accents, like picking them up, putting them down. And he was never insulted by it. He thought it was fucking hilarious because he would curse out our managers because he'd worked there for a while, and he threw better than the majority of the workers. So it's not like they were going to fire him, but he would occasionally like curse at our managers and get away with it because he's seniority, plus he's non-native,
right?
Like he wasn't born here. And he got some protections because of that. And basically he'd curse at him, and then I'd look over at him and I'd fucking laugh. And I'd be like, "You're killing me, Roger." And he'd look over at me and he'd be like, "Fuck you, white boy." And like, ha. But it's one of my favorite people to work with. He's super vocal. He liked to talk.
That I'm not gonna say his name, but he had like a 7-syllable last name.
Dear God. I didn't learn
I still can I have sat there before, and I was like, "Sergeant, will you write your name for me?" And he wrote his name, and I'm like, I don't know where to start.
Jesus.
Like, I can pronounce. He went by the first part of his last name because it was 4 letters and pretty easy to pronounce. So, but like his full last name was quite a
mouthful.
And man, and he was a really awesome NCO. He's one of those NCOs that you were glad to have. Like he was a good leader, but he also was not afraid to get his hands dirty, and even if there was more than enough manpower to get the task done, he would still be just helping however he could.
That's rocking.
He was a great NCO. And he actually just got a staff sergeant as I was getting out, so that was awesome for him.
Sweet. We're getting a little out of my depth on what these things are starting to mean.
So he just got a promotion, and like in his MOS, promotions are harder to come by.
Okay.
It goes on a point system.
Okay.
And you have to, like, passing a PT test gets you a small amount of points. The big way a lot of people do it is going to college. And he has, if I'm thinking right, he's got a master's and he's working on a second master's.
Okay.
Like, he is a well-educated man.
All right.
Far smarter than...
I picked back up on the end there because we started using... I understood what you were saying, but I didn't understand any of the acronyms for, like, how those things work together. I don't know what an MSO is. Shout out to Jason, because I know you know what's going on.
Yeah, Jason will be able to pick right up on
also, anyone else who does know what's going on. Good for you guys, because I was a little lost. Jesus.
But I think we're about to call it out here, guys. We're running up on our time. By the time we get done doing our little outros, it'll be about that time.
Yeah, it'll be about done. So it's been pretty fun.
It's been real fun. We're trying to get more just casual with this and less...
Yeah, we tried to record an episode on Monday. Sorry for that. I don't think was it uploaded?
It's going to be tonight.
Yeah, so we're uploading it tonight. This will be uploaded.
So this will be probably between 3 days and a week before this is released. That the other one will be up.
But the one up before you hear this, it's going to be kind of stiff.
We're trying to get better about being more loosey-goosey, wacky, waveable, inflating our man style.
Yeah, and we're going to get ready to start bringing you that better content now that we fixed all of our tech difficulties.
Yes.
Just remember, we're covered by the BIPCOT no-gov license. Anybody but the government can use us.
Or Bailey.
Yeah, because reasons, I guess.
It's
been stated, so...
Bailey's parents are okay, though, and all of their chihuahuas, too. They're fine, just not Bailey.
Look at it's all of their chihuahuas.
They have a herd of them. It is wonderful. I go over there, and I'm greeted by 4 shining chihuahuas.
All right, well, everyone, don't fall for the identity politics. Do not become victim to division. Peace out.
Fuck Bailey.